What's up, WWE Champions Universe? Welcome to Champions Chat, the fastest growing podcast dedicated to the WWE Champions mobile game. I'm Jim Neidhart. Rusty
Jimin?
Graves. Gemini is my sign, but Jim Neidhart, the Anvil, is my wrestling name. And with me, as always, my tag team partner, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever would be, except when it comes to emotion. I'm the Canadian hitman, Bret Hart.
Wow.
What's up, Lee?
It's funny. I was actually this morning, before I got here, I was looking at an article of Bret Hart blaming Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff for the fall of WCW. And Eric Bischoff's take was just, isn't he just such a bitter old man? And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what, like, you look at these guys like, I mean, you know, your Ric Flairs, your Goldbergs, your whoever out there, they're just enjoying life. And they're like, man, I know people have wronged me, but it's in the past. And Bret's like, I can't forgive anyone, ever.
It's the cold Canadian heart. It goes with the territory, the climate, right? They always say that,
Territory
like,
days of the cold
people
Canadian
in the
heart.
Northeast are typically, right, not as friendly as people in the South. And they've always associated that whatever the climate is like, that's also kind of what the culture is like. I don't know if that's necessarily true everywhere, but it might be true in Calgary, Ontario, Canada.
Where's that? Alberta, Canada, right?
Also, if you grew up and your dad had a literal dungeon that he would lock you in and beat you up in, you may be a little bitter too. So
That's true. And they don't even hide the fact. They just call it the Hart Family Dungeon for all to see.
might be some of this might go back to Stu.
Wow.
Well, Lee, we have an exciting show today. We're going to talk about ways to decrease our frustration. Ways to decrease our frustration. As you know, as I know, as we all know, when you do anything competitively, the level of intensity and investment that you feel emotionally and mentally in that significantly rises. So we're going to talk about how to lower your blood pressure, how to lower your stress levels. And we're not going to talk about diet and exercise or eating vegetables. We're going to talk about things you can do in the game to lower your frustration in the game. And then we've got an exciting community spotlight with Sensei Kreese from the Cobra Kai Dojo. We're excited to hear from him.
Nice.
And WWE TV, Lee, I think I'm excited about Drew McIntyre and CM Punk for the first time ever.
What?
For the first time ever, I think I care. And we'll talk about why at the end of our show today. Well,
Nice.
Lee, are you frustrated? Are you frustrated?
You know, my wife tells me that frustration is my base level emotion. So I'm not
Your
joking.
resting energy is frustrated.
Yeah. I we'll talk a lot of times. She's like, "Why are you angry?" I'm like, "I'm not angry. I'm frustrated." She's like, "You're always frustrated." I'm like, "Well, I'm a type A personality. I want to get things done. So if I'm not actively getting something done, I have low level frustrations almost at apparently every moment. So it's something I'm working on. My wife is helping me not be frustrated all the time.
Okay. Well, how is it that we're friends? How do we get along? Because I feel like I'm very opposite of you. Like, I feel like you're very intentional, very coordinated, very strategic. I'm very chaotic, very impulsive, very prone to, buying the last minute candy bar on the aisle in the checkout lanes, right? And grabbing a magazine and wanting to grab it. It's like I just you've taught me a lot. You've taught me a lot. And some of this list today that we've put together are things that Lee has taught Rusty. So not just how to decrease your frustration, but maybe lessons I've learned from Lee could be the subtitle to today's show.
If you want to learn how to be less frustrated, go to a person who's frustrated and be like, "What are you doing?" Okay, let's do opposite of that together.
Tell me about your day. Tell me about your life.
Yeah.
Well, Lee, so some of the things that are on this list that we've put together are if you will, it's some of our greatest hits. We're going to do some callbacks to some of the things that we've tried to emphasize to the community since the very beginning, and things that we do ourselves to decrease our levels of frustration with WWE champions, but also to increase our level of enjoyment. So as much as this list could be called ways to decrease your frustration, it could also be called a positive note. It could be called ways to increase your enjoyment of the game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we could do a positive. Decrease is a little more clickbaity, so we'll probably stick with that, right? Get the views. Get the views.
Well, last week's episode was the first episode of the podcast to get 1,000 views on YouTube. So, I mean, whatever we did that one, it worked. So
I actually got some DMs last week of like, hey man, have I upset you? Was it something that I did specifically? And I was like, no. It was no one that was not directed at anyone, or even any one situation, or even any one faction. But Lee, let's look at our list. And also, let me say this. If you haven't had a chance to go back and listen to last week's episode, I said I think it might be our best work to date. I think last week might have been our most thoughtful and most talked about episode to date. So whether you agree or disagree, I think it's provocative. I think it's thought-provoking, to say the least. All right. Well, starting today's list, since we kind of had a good time with the list last week, let's see if this list works. Lee, the first way to decrease your frustration, tell me if you agree or disagree, is you need to have a roster strategy that enables you to direct your resources. Yeah. That's my language. Feel free to say it or rephrase it or reframe it any way you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of our first episodes that we ever did as the podcast, back when we were just aiming it at the Black Pearl and hoping 30 people would listen to it. We've said for a long time, like, have a plan. I know DJ will say on his streams, Merrick sometimes will say on his streams, like, when it's time for a talent up or whatever, he'll just go in and say, what do I feel like today? And just throw some things out there. But they're in a different boat than most. For most of us, if you know what's coming on the blog, like, for example, they announced at the very start of this month that Tommaso Ciampa was going to be required week 3 of this contest. So your strategy should have been to put Tommaso Ciampa into the hopper, and then during Talent Up, during the Master Manager, during whatever, start working him up so that you're not super frustrated by the time you get to week 3 and go, this guy's terrible. He's so outdated. What do I do? But then similarly, there have been times where we get super hyped up and excited about something new and shiny that we get, when the real play maybe is actually, and we'll talk about this, a promoter that we should be building instead, or whatever. And so it's not always the best thing to go, oh, I just pulled, the new version of Asuka, and so I'm going to take her to 6-star gold immediately. Like, she might be a distraction from what is your actual best path. So for Rusty and I, we both keep an Apple Note on our phones, and it has, this is my priority. Like, I know by class who I'm working on, what order. I can look and see, okay, who needs TP of what color, and I mean, it doesn't take me that long. I don't spend hours and hours cultivating this. I just literally put my priorities in place so that I know that new powerhouse Cody that I got, I need to take him up above everybody else. And so if I get somebody else that I'm juiced about, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to spend all my red TP, and then I go back to level up powerhouse Cody, I'm like, oh, I can't take him up now. Dang it.
You've never done that during a Talent Up video, have you, Lee?
Switched my priorities, or not had what I needed?
Consistently ran out of a color of TP that you needed mid Talent Up. It's almost like an ironic situation that that we all find ourselves in. Lee, let me give a little behind the scenes tip. If you just saw Lee's note and you wondered, well, how did he do that? How does he make that list? Lee taught me this. What you do is you just go to your roster, right? And you take a screenshot And then from the screenshot, you crop the photo down, make it the size of the character's square, right? And then you click send to, right? You send it to your notes, right? So you start a note, maybe you call it roster strategy. Then you send that screenshot to your notes and it'll be right there. And then you can click the box and move it around on the note, or you can, if you're on a computer, you can with your mouse drop and drag it around, and that'll help you. I mean, that's about the easiest way you can do it. But Lee, can I share another tip with you?
Please do.
On how I'm learning? Now, I won't say I've learned it. I'm learning to manage my roster is by saving my coin and my TP until the designated Master Manager contest or Talent Up is there. So like on a Thursday afternoon, for example, I'm always tempted to like, I've got the itch. I've got that itch. I want to take, it's like, why?
Right.
What benefit does it get me? I'm trying to only spend when I get points only. I'm trying to be very frugal and very conservative about only doing, maybe fuses during Flash Feud, star fills during Flash Feud, Evos during Talent Up, adding TP until, if I can, until that Master Manager contest.
Right.
I'm notorious for impulsive roster moves. And I've never once benefited from an impulsive roster move.
Ooh.
In fact, the other day, I dropped like 240 million coins into Chainsaw Charlie after realizing I already had him at 6 bronze, and I could have beaten the Indie Tour each day with him at 6 bronze. I was an unnecessary, why did I do that?
Well, he is very good, but...
but still, I didn't need to do it. The only reason I did it is because the perception was I don't want to lose a match, right? I don't want to... what does losing a match cost me? Nothing. One health pack to regenerate their health and then let them sit on the bench for 5 minutes and be totally back to health. All that to say, impulsive roster moves have hurt me more than they've ever helped me.
Yeah. I would agree. And oftentimes, like, working the plan takes a lot of patience. Like, for example, this is not quite a roster move, but it's similar to it. I just yesterday got Showboat Charlotte's final gear. But, I mean, that meant I had to set aside and not get Boss Breaker currency for almost 2.5 months. I mean, literally, I had to say, I'm putting Boss Battle on pause, working with what I have in order to get there. Now that I've got her, I can move back into getting my Focus Boss Battle tokens and all that kind of stuff. But similarly, like, one of my goals right now is to get to League 24. I know so many are already there. I'm not. I don't have the coin. I don't have the TP yet. And so, I mean, that's going to cost... Right now I have 5, so it's going to cost me about 1.5 billion coins to make those moves. So if I dump them all right now, that means I have no Talent Up because I've only at 1.5 billion coins.
Hey, so for comparison, Lee, you are a lot more of a careful spender than I am. I currently have one completely maxed to go to League 24. I need 10. So the difference between you and me, I dump the coin into Chainsaw Charlie, who benefits me not at all. I don't even need him worked up for the tour, and that could have been coin that I put into Trickster Live Oblivion, right? To take halfway to max gold to get to the next league. So when you say that number, that stings a little bit because now I'm seeing where I could be with a better roster strategy versus where I am one of 10, right? So we're not just dealing with theories here. Like
Right.
this is actually the difference between Lee and my success in the game.
Wow.
So you're going to get to that league probably twice as fast as I will.
Well, yeah, I'm making we talk about the roster plan. I mean, I know that with the discounted prize wall each month, I can get that 500 coin pack at least once, if not twice a month. So I've told myself, whenever I get that 500 million coin pack, it goes to maxing 6-star golds. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do other things, but that's what it has to do.
So Zandal in the chat says we start calling Rusty Rolo. Rusty only lives once. YOLO in the wrong people,
I love that.
and not getting anything to show for it. Hey, my final thing, and then maybe you have another, but my final thing on roster strategy has been I've been getting a lot out of watching Merrick's Tuesday roster, what does he call it, roster workup, or his Tuesday shows on the WWE Champions Twitch. So a great example, I watched a Merrick's video on the deep dive, roster deep dive. Thank you, Spider Guard. Watched an Aussie video that Merrick's made, right? I was like July 4th week. I think I was on vacation July 4th week or the week after. So I have not watched any strategy on Aussie since mid-July, right? When my Aussie was probably 3-star, 4-star back then. Well, end of contest, Aussie goes up to 6 gold. I ended up getting an Aussie plate through the contest. I don't have the gear, but I'm going, I've got this plate that makes black gems, but the way I'm running Aussie, I don't make any black gems. I'm just doing trap gems, bonus damage on the trap. Match is over. Am I even running Aussie the right way? Right. So I had to revisit somebody that I thought I knew, who I got additional pieces for to see how to maximize. The same was true of Trish Stratus, Canadian Icon. I thought yellow, red was the way to go, but turns out I don't have Showboat Nakamura to do the health steal. So that's not my best way to run her. Right. Gotcha. So this is someone that I got 2 months ago, and I have been working her up to 6-star silver. And now I'm going, I don't even run my best characters correctly, because my roster strategy doesn't also include revisiting in the community knowledge base to make sure I'm running them and optimizing their plate or their strap or their moveset or their entourage. Our first, Lee, our first glimpse of a superstar is usually not the correct glimpse that we see 2 months later, because new things come out, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, like, I don't think there's been one or two, like, for example, I need to redo Maxine's 3-minute moveset because it was based when her gear did different things. It wasn't that I got her wrong, it's just they changed her gear. But I mean, yeah, like, I don't think, I mean, yeah, I get it wrong sometimes. I'm more accurate than a weatherman when it comes to our preview videos, at least. But yeah, when they change things, when gear that used to, give bonus damage for protect gems now does bonus damage for reinforced gems, suddenly that changes the character, and you got to rethink your strategy. So, that's a subject to change thing, though.
Now, and when I said we get it wrong, let me just clarify for our friendship. First of all, I did not mean Lee gets it wrong. What I meant was the community, by and large, the community doesn't have all of the information when a preview video comes out, because later in the month, a moment might come out. Later in the month, a plate might come out. Later in the month, right? Someone, a surprise superstar that has a different entourage ability comes out. So like our first look of Tiffy, every video you watch of Tiffany Stratton is probably wrong. And the opinion, the consensus of her is wrong, except for our power rating, because we power rated her after her finisher was reworked. And after her plate had been added to the game, right? So we were kind of notoriously late on power rating her because we were waiting to see would she get a moment, would she get. Right. So we did it. We kind of slow rolled her, and that was to our benefit. Where most of the content out there is about a month behind and probably needs to be reworked to give you the accurate info, right? And I'm not bashing anyone. That's just the way the speed of the game evolves. If your roster strategy is going to be to work your characters correctly, you've got to revisit and see, has anything changed? Did something new come out? Can I do this better? So.
Yep. Well, what's our next one?
Well, and it kind of is a perfect segue to say this, Lee. The next point, the next way to decrease your frustration is to stay in the loop. Stay in the loop. A few ways you can do that. Why don't you tell it? How do you stay informed about the game? Because I feel like if you're prepared, you'll be less frustrated. You'll be more, ready for competitive play.
Well, let me say, before I was a CC or official CC, and then after we became official CCs became different, because now we do get the blog a little early, not weeks or days early, but oftentimes a few hours. But I mean, what I would typically do is every Monday we would have Professor's streams, and he does a blog read. Here's what's coming up, here's what's coming out, here's the next MLC, here's whatever. I would pay attention to that. I'd also then chat with, we have some people who kind of examine those in our faction server, and chat with them like, hey, what are you seeing from this? What do you think is different? Etc. Thursday there's a blog read. It's either us or Professor, or sometimes it's Davey or Goldie, but just keep up with that. Also, there's the in-game announcements tab now. They're trying to do a lot better at being communicative and advanced communication. I mentioned earlier, but same thing, like with Tommaso Ciampa, we knew 2.5 weeks ago that we were going to need to use Tommaso Ciampa this week, which means, I could have been building Tommaso up. Ezekiel, not Elias, we knew he was going to be required. And so I knew I needed to build him up. So, you don't have to live and die by, all the things that are going on the blog. And it is subject to change. It adjusts sometimes radically. But just kind of keeping that awareness. And if you're not the one who's going to watch the blog and do all that kind of stuff, even just keeping in your factions announcements or news server or the Champions Chat Discord, we oftentimes will make sure we kind of talk about things and know what's coming up. Right now, the conversation is, who do we use for boss battle this weekend? Who's the best characters? Professor will have his bargain bin and his best hits for the boss. Pay attention to those videos. Chat with your faction. What other thoughts on that, Rusty?
So I think you did a great job of covering the blog. I'll add a source that helps me stay in the loop, and that's the in-game news. I'm not sure that I can pick it up here, and it doesn't look good on screen. But the in-game news, right, in the top right corner of the Champions app, top right corner, and you'll see it says "What's up." So I think Furpo is copying our "What's up" WWE Champions. As I think either us or our truth, one of us have inspired the Champions news. But there's two sections of it at the top. One is the featured, and one is the news. Right? Featured is they're helping curate the most important things.
Right.
Top. And then the news is everything. All the blogs are there. And then at the bottom, right, is our social links. Champions, you can follow if you want even faster news or more up-to-date stuff. I guess it's called X now. X Twitter account that's usually the first source to go live to report something. And then the town hall announcements will mirror the tweet X. But where I often hear about things that are not in the news it's almost in real time. Whichever content creator is on stream on the main Champions Twitch has the most up-to-date info, right? So today's Wednesday, it'll be DJ. Yesterday was Tuesday, it was Merrick's. Monday was Professor. Friday is us. Thursday is a rotation. We can opt in for the blog read, but lately it's been Davey D and Professor have been kind of co-hosting a Thursday blog.
Nice.
That is where you can pop on, and in the Twitch chat, you can write, do you have any news on the Showdown CSS for the midweek contest? Right? You can just pose the question.
Right.
Oftentimes, that content creator will have access to news that has not yet been published, that they are responsible for announcing. And so they would say, well, in fact, I do. Let's look at it. So Professors does a tremendous job at doing that. He is, I feel like he's the most up to speed on things because of his Monday blog,
right,
and just his intuitive sense of organizational kind of information. So yes. I think that's all I have for Stay in the Loop.
Yep. I think I would say don't feel like you have to like follow every single thing that's happening, but at the same time, a good example would be yesterday I was out in our lobby and some of our people were talking about their fantasy football picks, and they were doing this, and they were, you got to get on this, make sure you talk to this person, make sure you're on this server. And for me, I mean, maybe you do fantasy football as well. For me, this is my sport, my hobby, my fantasy football. So for me, I'm staying up to date with that. But if you're not, hit up somebody who is. Now, don't message all of the CCs on Discord with things that we've put out in other sources, but at the same time, like, go to your faction Discord chat and just say, like, hey, what are the CSS this week? And you might get a, hey, look at the announcements tab, or something like that. Be aware if there's resources that are there, but leverage your community and just let them know, like, I'm trying. I want to do well at this. Where do I find it?
Right. Or you can even say, did anybody watch Professor tonight? Was there anything we need to know? Right. That's a great thing to ask in your Discord. Right.
Yeah. By the way, just real quick, since we're talking DJ Anon ZT in the chat, I've in my brain, this is a headcanon thing, but I'm trying to figure out, because I know what his real name is, I'm trying to figure out how DJ Anon ZT fits in anything. So I've decided that his name stands for Derek Jeter's Anonymous Zombie Trainer. That's what I'm going with from now on.
Wow. Okay. Lee, not everything's in the blog, and that brings us to our next point. This is one that you said you had experience with in the corporate world, learning to deal with ambiguity. So our third frustration point, learn to deal with ambiguity. What does that mean, Lee?
So deal with ambiguity. So when I worked at Dell, there was a cultural value of deal with ambiguity. What that functionally meant was, because they considered themselves a fast-moving company, they wanted you to know that they might change things on the fly. Because for us, now talk about this game where it's just what we do for a hobby. This was talking about real life subject to change that directly impacted my paycheck. They might tell you one day, hey, if you sell this printer, you're going to get a special bonus and get more money. And then the next day they'd turn around and say, actually, we don't want it to be that printer. It's going to be this one. And you've already sold a stack of these ones. But their thing was, you got to deal with ambiguity here. If you can't deal with changes on the fly, you're not the right fit for this company. And so I just got used to, like, it wasn't every day my paycheck changed, but I mean, they made massive changes on the fly that directly impacted my paycheck, and I was expected to deal with that. And honestly, if I was going to thrive in that, I needed to deal with that. So that is kind of part of what this looks like, is just dealing with the ambiguity of being, in a game where things can change on the fly. Like when your partner on the podcast drops off suddenly.
You dropped off. I didn't know I dropped off. I thought
you were gone.
I didn't know. Okay, I'm back.
I handled it. This is a real world example because I literally was talking about this and getting you back on the podcast as quickly as I could.
Lee, I think the larger an organization is, the more necessary this principle is. I used to work for a very, very large nonprofit. They
Right.
had 13 locations. It had, 26,000 people were a part of it. And yet we had a lot of moments of fluidity, last minute changes. And I don't know that we ever said it was a cultural value, but we used to kind of laugh about it. Like, oh yeah, just wait, just
Right.
if you don't like something, wait 10 minutes, it'll change. Right. So I just want, this game is millions of people that play it. Millions, right?
At least 30 to 40,000 active a day. That's the most guaranteed number we can say.
I guess we could say millions of downloads, right?
Sure,
Over the years.
yeah.
Millions of downloads over the years. And so expecting to know everything about a 7-year-old game that involves millions of downloads, tens of thousands of active daily users, that's probably not realistic. And so one easy way to manage your frustrations is to acknowledge that things change and that you won't always know it all. Yeah. Right? It's just kind of like, okay, roll with the. I mean, my wife always says, "Go with the flow," right? I like to be the flow. I like to be the one that determines the flow.
Right.
That's where my frustration comes in. Is like, I don't want to be swept away in the flow. I want to be the one that's flowing.
Right.
If anything to add, or I'll go on to the next point.
No, I mean, I think that's good. I think in life, not just in this game, in your work, everywhere, especially in this day and age where things change on the fly, you have to be able to deal with ambiguity. You have to be able to recognize your best laid plans, which you should make. That was our first point. Also need to be open-handed, because if you've clenched your fist around something and then somebody rips it out of there, it tears the skin. But if you're holding it loosely, something changes, you just go, all right, I got this. I can move. I can change.
Our next way to decrease your frustration / increase your pleasure with this game, at least, is to spend wisely. Spend wisely.
Right. Yep. Agreed. Yeah.
Lee,
you want to talk about this a little bit? Because you have some thoughts here.
Well, I've done a lot of spending not wisely, so I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to talk about this one. But here's the thing, Lee. When I spend for the thrill, okay, when I want the rush and I spend, I am usually disappointed with the results, right? If I'm wanting that endorphin release, I'm wanting that little hit of adrenaline that comes from the loot, and I'm seeing the posters scroll by, and I'm clicking and I'm anticipating something really great, right? I will oftentimes, if not always, be disappointed because my delusions of grandeur are pretty high.
Right.
But if I spend to get specific things, right? If I spend to get contest points or an offer that has a poster I don't have in it, or a plate I don't have in it, or if I know if I buy this 7 pull, I'll hit the next milestone, and in that milestone I'll be able to get X, Y, or Z, right? I've never been disappointed when I spend to get guaranteed things that I want.
Right.
And so for me, that curbs a lot of my frustration in quote unquote like a bad loot, right? Or bad pulls. The other thing is being part of the UCC, the Prestige Pass member, like that helps take the sting out of a bad loot out as well, because at least I'm getting some XP and I'm getting something that counts towards who I really want. Yeah, I didn't pull Mello, but man, I'm almost to the point where I can recruit Mello, right? So that spending for me, that's a wise way to ensure an outcome that is desirable, right? You have any thoughts on spending? You've been a pretty calculated spender over the years.
I feel like I've gotten less in this like especially this last month. And to clarify, because somebody called me out, like you said that the player's choice loot was the worst loot in the game. I was mad. I did 3 stinking megas and got.
Right.
Well, I did get Showboat Shinsuke. That was my. But I mean, if you had asked, hey, if you do 3 megas, will you be okay if you get 1 older coach? And I would have said, no, I won't do it. So, that was me getting the FOMO trap. But yeah, generally speaking, if you are going to spend, and that means your coin, your TP, or real world dollars, it's best and wisest to do it when you know there's a guaranteed reward. So with the May Young loot, I pulled May, on stream. We all saw that. That was awesome. And if I was something like 20 more bucks or something, whatever, I don't remember the exact scenario, but if I spent something like 20 bucks, I was guaranteed to hit the next milestone, which gave me all of the medallions, which allowed me then to go on the prize wall, which blah, blah, blah. And I got nothing out of that $20 pull. It was a bomb of a pull, but I got all the stuff that I knew I was going to get. So Merrick's was the one that I remember saying this first, and I always recommend his method. I always give him a shout out for it. But if you're going to spend, like, know that mega, that $20 pull, that single pull, whatever it is, know that it's going to get you something tangible so that you walk away going, well, I didn't get anything out of the pulls, but at least I got that, right? And when I break that rule, when I violate that rule, 90% of the time, that's when I walk away angry that I spent. Or
Yeah.
It's,
what was really funny is, like, I did a video of so I got the player's choice mega, right? And I start recording, and like I ate my words so quickly because I said, this is the best loot in the game, right? This is and I said, traditionally, this loot has been better for me than any other loot throughout the year.
Right.
I've got really high hopes here. I've only got, 17 coins, but I'm expecting to get probably 5 new superstars. Like outrageous expectations, because in previous times I did get super, I don't know, lucky, or RNG was better for me. Now, you and I both saw Player's Choice brag room shots that were tremendous. One guy got like Muscle Man and Regal and Mello and Braun Breaker. And I was like, he just won the game. That's
that was incredible. That was Bunders, actually, in the chat here.
And I remember thinking, like, my Player's Choice was horrible. It was... It was slightly better than yours, because I got a few really helpful fuses, and I think I can't remember if it was New Sammy. Maybe I got New Sammy, Acro Sammy.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It wasn't stupendous at all. I didn't get anyone I wanted, and I also told everybody how incredible my pulls were going to be, and they weren't. So so subject to change, because if you had Bunder's luck on there, you'd have been like, this is the greatest thing ever, and I'm going to do 20 more mega well, no, not really. But yeah, and for me, it was the FOMO. Like, I did one and hit Nakamura, and Showboat Nakamura, and so I was like, okay, that was at least something, so I'm going to do another one. And then I missed on that one entirely, and I was like, okay, well, if I do one more, I know I'm going to hit something. But it was a lie. I didn't hit anything. I didn't. Well, Lee, that leads us to our next point, and I think we might have already stated this a few times, but have realistic expectations.
Yes.
I had unreasonable expectations of that loot. Anything to add to that? Have realistic expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of life, and we talk about frustration being my baseline emotion or whatever. A lot of life is expectation management. I'm a person who has high, sometimes very unrealistic expectations, and I always have. And when my expectations are not met, that's when I don't get angry. I don't deal with anger issues. I'm not outwardly explosive. I'm inwardly drawn to it. But then I seethe. I just get mad. I get frustrated. And to me, honestly, it's not that big of a deal. I that's what I've always known. But like, I'll talk with my wife, and she's like, ooh, it's kind of it's hard to be around you right now. And I'm like, why? She's like, well, you're so frustrated. I'm like, but it's just frustration. Like, I'm not yelling, I'm not angry, I'm not whatever. And she's like, yeah, but it sets a bad tone. And I feed off of that. I pick up your frustration, and then I'm mad. I'm frustrated. I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's not good. That's not what I want my household to be. So for me, recognizing that it's good to have high hopes, but you should always manage your expectations. You should always believe the best, but you should always be ready for something else to happen. And it kind of goes back to that deal with ambiguity, but in a different way. Just know that you know, having high expectations is life-giving, but you also have to be willing to let them go if something different happens, and be okay that that's the new reality. So
let's switch over to a very practical way to decrease your frustration. Some of this we've been talking about is more, emotional, intellectual management. This is actually in-game strategy, right? One of the best things you can do to decrease your frustration, and Lee's going to expand on this, is to utilize our promoters. Utilize promoters. IOW, Icons of Wrestling promoters.
Yeah. Yeah, the Icons of WrestleMania have gone in and out of importance. If you've seen our video, should you take literally any IOW to 6-star gold, you know that really none of them are fighters. If there were ultimate straps, 1 or 2 of them could be contenders, but none of them are really fighters. So they're not, when you talk about your roster strategy, they're not ones that you're building up so that they will do well. You are building them up so they will platform others. And this became even more realistically palpable since they did the Gemmania setup, the Stip Tour change, right? Because, for example, in our chat in Discord this morning, I let people know I used 5-star bronze New Batista with his red, green, fill the board with pyros, break them all, and etc. And I am ranked like 74th in the entire player community using the free character that I did, granted, get up to 5 stars, so it's a little bit more buildy. But the reason that I did that is not because I'm winning every match. In fact, I'm getting pinned about 3 turns in on Hell Mode. But as long as I get 1 star, my 150% promoter makes it 3 stars. And all of a sudden, boom, I'm done. Like, I lose the match quickly, but I've already got 1 star. Now suddenly I have 3 stars. If I could 3-star, it would be even, I would be even higher up in the community. Similarly, for your war score promoters, if you don't, I don't have Undertaker, but other than him, if you're not building up your war score promoters, you are literally costing yourself hours every feud. Hours. So, Rusty, what order would you rank the promoters? Like, in terms of not the individual characters, but what, effect they have in game. If you had to focus, where would you focus?
Number 1 would probably be the feud promoters, especially for Flash Feud, because I feel like Flash Feud gives you the best rewards of any of the weekend contests. So I would probably focus on my feud promoters. And then I would, it gets a little tough, but I would probably next do my Showdown coin promoters, because midweek and weekend contests now have a Showdown contest, now have coins as 1 point a piece. And if you can get, 500 extra Showdown coins, that's 500 extra points per match. Times 16 till your energy recharges. Do the math on that. Now you're talking about like 7,000 more contest points per energy burst, right? Yeah. So that would be probably second. I think Showdown notoriety is also really important. I think the Stip Tour has got to be up there now, because the top 2,000 make the leaderboard. And the leaderboard gives you more coins for the shop. So I would probably put that maybe somewhere in that, interrupting the Showdown. And then I would go into probably the Boss. I don't think those are very important right now, the Boss shop coins. Is that all of them? Did I say them all?
Let's see. There's 2 Showdown. There's Feud. There's Stip Tour, and there's Boss. Anything else? What other modes are in this game? I think
there's Blitz Promoter. There's perks for that.
Yeah.
There's no. I think that's it. Oh yeah. Just don't. Like Lee said, don't think any of them are going to be your top feuders, because they're those gold tokens are so rare. You don't want to push them up higher than they're useful. Lee, here's how I would summarize this principle of utilized promoters. It's this: you'll get a lot higher scores and better rewards for the same amount of work.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. Higher scores, better rewards. Here's a great example, and maybe this goes back to plan your spending or plan wisely, spend wisely. My favorite way to spend is the $4.99 the US dollar $4.99 weekend collector's offer. And you get 2 coins, usually a couple of contest points. So 2 loot coins and a couple of contest points for $4.99. And if you do it all 4 or 5 weekends, you're going to get, typically you get additional boss battle currency and your like 4 or 5 feud steps. So when it comes time for the last weekend of the month to do flash feuds, you're getting 100%, basically 100% increase if you have your promoters and your steps. So you're getting twice the score, right? If you have a 5 million roster and you normally get about 50 million on your feud score, well, now you're getting 100 million. Now you're maxing flash feud weekend, right? So that's kind of the way I look at it, is like bang for the buck. You get a couple of pulls, get a couple contest points, and you get a huge boost for the work you're doing to get. Right. And those flash feuds have the plates, right? They have the feud chests. They have all the good stuff in them. So I want rewards. Yeah. Nice. I think that's all I have on that one. Can we go to the next one?
Sure.
Well, Lee, you already said your resting state is frustration. On my list, I have don't bottle up your frustration. Don't bottle up your frustration. Instead, share it with your faction to get some perspective.
Right.
Maybe you're seeing things incorrectly. Maybe. Or maybe you're seeing things correctly and you need to elevate your thoughts and feelings and share them thoughtfully on the forum. Right? And what I'm saying is don't bottle it up. Probably share it. Say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Am I seeing this right, guys? Like, should I go on a total rant here? Just blah, and they might say, okay, head to the rant room. Don't do that in open chat, right? Or they may say, no, it's yeah, that happened to me too.
Oh, Rusty's internet's down again. I'll bring him back here in a second. But keep going with your point, Rusty, there. The rant room, if you're going to throw a bunch of upset language, make sure you are using your rant room. And make sure you're not doing that in open chat, because frustration spreads, and it does give a bad look to things. So, just be in mind and keep in mind, my frustration that I deal with, it's low level. I try to keep it to myself. Obviously, it impacts my wife, but if you're, dropping in the open chat constantly, hey, I'm so mad, this is the worst thing ever, blah, 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 you're just going to upset your faction. You're going to set people off. You are going to cause undue frustration to those around you, and you don't want that. So that's all my summary of your thoughts, Rusty. There is just use your rant room and maybe be self-aware enough to say, here's how I'm feeling. Is this reality? Is this what other people are seeing? And let other people weigh in on that to say, yeah, dude, we're with you. That sucks. Or actually, have you thought about this?
Yeah. And then share it constructively on the forum if your faction or your friends validate that you do have a good point, right? I think they read the forum pretty closely. I think they read it. I think they respond to it. I think they have conversations behind the scenes about it. I think they being right, the game devs and community managers and all that. I think they say, hey, did we short the community on points? I'm noticing on the forum, right? Some people are saying, yeah, that's my experience too. And we've seen that points adjustments, characters have been reworked, right? Recently. So I don't think they're just sitting around looking for ways to give us more points or rework characters, because that creates work for them. But that work is created out of the feedback of the community. So don't have to bottle it up. You don't have to just think you don't have to get a victim mindset, right? And just be a powder. But our final point here, Lee, and this is the one you specifically, I wasn't even considering this at all, is to remember it's just a game.
Yeah. I mean, when you love something, and I think, if you saw my video that I did on this game about it being the best game, literally in the entire history of wrestling video games, and I meant that. That was not a troll whatsoever. When you love something, it's easy to get passionate about it. It's also easy to get disproportionately affected by it.
Ooh, yeah.
And so the more your heart goes to something, the more that thing gives you the rise or the fall of your own mood, your overall emotional state, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, yes, we've all, or at least a lot of us, have spent money, maybe even a lot of money on this game. It's hard to forget the investment, the hours, the whatever. But at the end of the day, it is just a game, I started playing this game some Halloween time ago, like 6 years ago. And when I picked it up, I had no illusions that this was going to be something so dominant in my life for many, many years. I picked it up to play a game. And while that has changed, the status of this game is more impactful in my life, more meaningful than I thought it would be. I do still need to keep in mind, at the end of the day, I'm playing this to have fun, right? I'm playing this to enjoy myself, to escape the horrors of other parts of reality, not to allow this to bring horror into every area of my reality. What do you think on that, Rusty?
Yeah, I want this game to be an escape. I want it to be easier than the real world. Yeah. I want it to be a place of solace or a refuge, if you will, right? When life is stressful, when life is hectic, when life feels out of control, I would like this game to be something in my control. I would like this game to be something that brings me a wanted distraction and some friendship and camaraderie, and is uplifting and positive. And so that's why 7+ years now we've been doing this game, because it is a healthy way for me to decrease my frustration with my actual life, right? So for me, I don't want frustration in the game to be something that brings me back and exacerbates the frustration I have with my own life. And that might be worth thinking about, friends. That might be a way to evaluate, is this making my life better or worse? Is this causing me more stress or taking away stress? Because probably one of two things should happen. One, you might want to change the way you play. Right. Or two, you might want to take a break from the game for a little bit. If it's gotten to be totally unmanageable, if it's gotten to be something that is constantly irritating you, take a step back and try fishing for a month, right? I can't fish. It's hot outside. I don't catch. I do better in the loot pools than I do with catching a fish at the lake. Right?
Wow.
I will come home with less fish than I will loot, right? So So, that's why I like the game. For me, wrestling, my whole life, wrestling has been an escape from reality, right? I like that. I like that it's just fun and then it's comical and then it's just not like last night, or Monday Night Raw, right? The New Day comes to the ring dressed like the Ninja Turtles. It's like, this is the break. This is finals week for me in grad school, Lee. So watching the New Day dance around like Ninja Turtles was a much needed break that I needed. And how cool, side note, how cool would it be if they did these WWE Elite Ninja Turtle characters in Champions? I have no knowledge. This is only my hope. I hope we get to see, because like Cody Rhodes as Casey Jones would be so fun. Awesome. Yeah. And Roman as Shredder.
Yeah. We need a good Roman in the game. Like, wow.
Rey Mysterio. I don't have a good Rey Mysterio, so I would love to have Rey as Raphael. Would be awesome. So
yeah. That would be awesome. Well, we have a community spotlight. So for those of you who are on Twitch here, you're just going to see this blip for a second and then boom, we're back. But for those watching on YouTube, you are going to see a man by the name of Sensei Crease join the community spotlight conversation. It was a good chat and I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching on Twitch, make sure to watch the YouTube or the Spotify podcast episode when it comes out. Now to that spotlight. Well, what's up, WWE Champions? We're back with another community collaboration, a community spotlight. This time we have Sensei Crease. So, would you introduce yourself, tell you a little bit about how long you've been playing, and what faction you're in, what you like about your faction? I know that's a lot, but that's our intro for you.
Yeah, I'm Sensei Crease, as you mentioned. I've been playing for, I believe it's 6 years-ish. For those long-time players, I started with the month when NWO Macho.
Oh, okay.
It was bad. That's when I started playing.
Okay.
And according to the portal, I have not missed a day of login since. Sad, I know, very sad.
Nice.
But yeah, and I'm currently in. You're on the list. That's the faction with Iron Sheik and Great J-Man. It's
Friends
a really
of the
great
podcast. We like those guys.
Yes, they're a great group of guys. I love it. I've been something of a faction hopper in the past, just because I'm trying to find the right faction, and I think I finally did.
Good.
So that's where I'm at.
Well, that's awesome to hear. That's very awesome to hear, in fact. So, each community spotlight, we kind of give the person who's on the chance to lead the conversation with what they want to lead with. And you want to kind of talk about when Champions is difficult, right? So talk to me about that.
Yeah, well, I have, there was 3 times playing where it got so frustrating and difficult where I thought about giving up the game. And these were all in the before times, as I like to mention, which is, for those who've been playing long enough, right around when Sika and Alpha debuted.
Oh, okay.
That's when, I feel Scope League got it and realized they need to start, giving more back to the players, or they're going to lose a lot more than they already had in the past.
Okay.
So the first time I thought about giving, and this is the worst story because it's just pure luck, was when I first started playing. Like I said, I started playing in the end of March, right around there, whatever year it was, 2019, I believe now, or whatever. And I've been playing for a couple months. It was June. I remember this because the name of the event was June Bloom.
Okay, I remember that.
So I'm sitting in the park with my kids, right? And up to that point, I'm not a big spender by any stretch of the imagination, but I'll spend a couple dollars here and there when it helps. So back then, I had been, spending maybe $20 a week, maybe 40 on I guess they were 10 pulls at the time.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, I was getting frustrated with the game. I'm watching my kids play in the park. They were young at the time. And I'm like, I'm going to do one more pull in this event. And if I don't get anything good, I'm done with the game. So this was the 4-star silver medal.
Okay.
This was back then. And I did it. And this was at the time when the featured group before they had odds posted, would have 5 cards or 5 posters in in the feature, and I wound up hitting the Mega, which was at the time 4-star bronze Trickster Seth.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that just completely changed the game for me. And after I was able to actually get some coin, which was another problem with the game forever, I was able to build them up, and it made the game a little bit easier, which then kept me going for a while.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I mean, like I said, that was luck. So I don't count that as something. Another thing that helped, and it's related to you guys, was when I discovered one of the very first podcasts before you guys with Tuba.
Right.
I found out that was a thing. So I went over there and I looked. Someone in my faction at the time just happened to mention there was a podcast that he watched. And I'm like, whoa, there's a podcast for this? Right? So then I went and I found it, and I wound up getting, found Tubob, and from there I found out Twitch was a thing. And then I found out, Merrick's was doing his thing too before he was a content creator.
Right.
And that there, just the ability to talk about the game with other people, whether it be in voice chat at the time or just, on Discord or whatever, was something that I considered very valuable. And your podcast that you do now, I consider very valuable too.
Thank you.
And I think it's valuable for all types of players. It can be valuable for the newer player that needs help navigating the game, because back when I'm guessing we started, there was nothing. You were almost on your own trying to figure out things in the game until you got involved with a faction that knew what they were doing and could help.
Right.
And then, so that was around the time, I believe, I just remember this, when the first Walter was a Chase character. That's how long ago that was.
When who was?
Walter, the powerhouse Walter.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Tech Pete Dunn, which was just, that was something. That was not a good character right there. was the free card that month. And like I said, and that kept me going. And I enjoy talking about the game. And I really do think that this is one of the best mobile games ever created, because there's just so much to it. Most mobile games, there's like a slot where you just hit a button, or it's like I'm trying to think of another game that's just like Candy Crush or something, where it's just nothing, it's just mindless. This, you actually have to use your brain,
right?
And I think that makes this game very enjoyable, and is what's kept me engaged for so long.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I've been toying for like literally 2 years over creating a video that why this is the best wrestling game that has ever been made, period. Like, and I just haven't done it. I maybe I just need to. I just need to make it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like I said, there's just so much to this game that you don't see from any wrestling game. Like strategy-wise, I mean, granted, you're not actually doing the moves or whatever, but that's fine. All right, I don't need that. I just turned 50. I'm beyond that. All right, just give me something I can use with my mind.
There you go.
And it's just like I played a couple other than mobile games. I played I don't even remember what they're called, but it's nothing compared to this.
Right.
This is just a great game, and I want everyone to enjoy it the way I do, if they are able to.
Right.
And that's why, like I said, just stick with it. If you're not a spender, that's fine. Stokely now gives away enough stuff for the free player that I think everyone can have an enjoyable experience.
Right. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. And I think the main problem is, I think you and Rusty have talked about this in the past quite a few times, is FOMO.
Yeah.
And I think if a lot of people get past that, then they too can enjoy the game for what it is.
Right. Right. Yep. Agreed. This player's choice loot got me on the FOMO. This, oh man, there's so many in there. And then you walk away and you're like, what did I just do? Like, oh my goodness. But yeah, if you can keep yourself in check, it's good.
Yeah, just to give you an idea, I mean, I'm spending a little bit more than I did in the past, but there's also weeks and like even a month one time where I just didn't spend it all because
right.
I had no interest in it.
Yeah.
But I did do a 5-poll for the player's choice loot, and I don't think I got anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you hit big, you'd know. You'd be going,
No, like I said, I don't expect anything when I pull. When I pull, it's either because I'm bored and I just want to have some entertainment for a few minutes,
Right.
or because it's to get, like, as many people say before, it's to get something guaranteed on the back end, whether it be another milestone that I need or shards.
Right.
So, and I think that's the way to spend it. Don't just blindly go, I think I'm going to hit here with this 7 pull, and then go for it and get disappointed when you don't. It's
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think if you put all your eggs in I'm going to get, I know one person on here who, anytime they pull, they'll message me and be like, I didn't get the weekend character. And I'm like, yeah, the odds are super small that you will. Like, it's not a guarantee. But I spent X number of dollars. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I mean, I'm sorry that, but like, yeah, you're not guaranteed that character for any number of dollars, really. So you got to reset your expectations. Otherwise, But speaking of other players, you have a story about meeting another Champions player in the wild, and I want to hear it. I think this is exciting.
Yeah, okay. This was probably.
Oh, hold on. Your audio cut out. Start back over.
Am I back?
Yep, you're back. Go ahead and start the story over.
Well, this happened about a year ago. And some people know that what I do for a living is I am a poker dealer, and I'm also a floor supervisor.
Okay.
At a casino in New Orleans. And the way it works is what I'm dealing is I'll go up to a table. All right. When the current hand ends, I tap the current dealer at that table out. Then I sit down and then I deal for a half hour.
Okay.
And in the way, like, and some people may know this, a lot of people don't. Poker's a very social game.
Yeah.
So you get to know a lot of the players that are in there on a regular basis. So I'm wondering, like, hello, first name with a lot of the players. So I come up to a table, and I'm waiting for the current hand to end. And as I'm standing behind the dealer, out of the corner of my eye, as I scan my head, I just noticed something. Did you cut out again? Am I still here?
I heard out of the corner of your eye, you noticed something.
Oh, yeah. I noticed something on the guy's phone.
Oh, dang it. Now you're cutting out again. No, still don't have your audio. Now I got you. Okay. Out of the corner of your eye, you noticed.
Yeah, I noticed on someone's phone the unmistakable Champs battle screen.
Nice.
And so I said, and it was a guy who was a semi-regular, so I knew him.
Oh, okay.
And I sat down and I did my greetings to everyone. And I went and I did what I got to do to start. And I just looked up at him and I said, "You finished your showdown yet?" And he looked up at me with this face like I just let out his greatest secret he's ever told. He's like, "You know about Showdown?" I go, "Are you kidding?" I said, "I've been playing this game for years."
That's awesome.
Yeah. So then we're like, and other players were like, "What the hell are these two guys talking about?" Right? So now when I see him, like, we'll talk about like the last thing we really discussed was when I guess it's been a few months now with the was it the collection contest where they just gave away all the superstars? Like, we were talking about that for a while.
Yeah.
And he said, "What do you think?" Because he was a player from the beginning, but he took a big break.
Okay.
So he'll come and he may ask me a question or two from time to time or whatever. But
nice. So you guys aren't in the same faction now or anything?
No, we're not. Like I said, I just know little discussion.
Nice.
And that's just
You're starting to cut in and out again a little bit.
I should use the other earbuds.
That's okay. It happens. I've caught most everything from there, and I mean that's like, what does it feel like to, notice someone else playing? Because I mean, our game is popular, but I mean it's super niche at the same time. Like, what are the odds that people very specifically like WWE plus mobile games plus Candy Crush style wrestling with a lot more to it? What does it feel like to encounter someone playing the game and be like, haha, I got you?
Yeah, it's different because on one thing it's like caught, like you just said, caught you, but also now I have someone I can actually talk to about it when I want to, not through chat, but like actually face to face.
Right.
And just to
we're losing you
I
again.
know. I know. Am I back?
You're back. Yeah, I heard
Okay.
everything up to adjust, and then it kind of again.
Okay, yeah, about the game being niche was I think in like one of two Bob streams back in the day we were doing some figuring. We figured it to be around 30 to 40,000 active players in the world
Yeah, I think
in
that's
this
about
game.
right.
So to find one sitting right across from you is kind of odd.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's not like, a Call of Duty or something like that where you're like, you play Call of Duty? Of course I play Call of Duty. Or,
Yeah.
whatever, like the big hit, millions of players a day. 30,000 daily active players is not a small thing, but at the same time, it's not, your million plus
Right.
subscriber base per day. And so if you figure, how many cities are in the world, how many, provinces, how
Mm-hmm.
many, whatever. And so for out of that 30,000 for the two of you to run into each other, that's really cool. And
Yeah,
to catch, oh, I know what's on that phone screen.
yeah. Like I said, I was just scanning my head, looking at all the players, and I just saw it real fast on this phone. I'm like, oh, I know what
Yep.
that is.
Yep. Yeah, I that's kind of how Rusty and I got started on this. I was playing playing the game at an event for work, and I had hired one of his employees away from him. He's in the East Coast. I'm in Denver, and I was playing the game, and the guy who had worked for him but now worked for me came over and was like, "Hey, isn't that the game that Rusty plays?" And I was like, wait, Rusty plays this game? Are you serious? And so I screenshotted, something from it, sent it over to him, and he was like, oh, he's like, and at that point, he was kind of frustrated. You talk about people stepping out of the game. He was frustrated with the game. He had stepped out. And so he's like, just be careful. You can end up spending a bunch on this and not get a ton. And he was kind of telling me some things. So I sent him a screenshot of my roster, and I had gotten Hollywood Hogan up to the top. And that was super rare at the time. And he goes, oh, so you're real on this. And then that's what kind of started actually him playing the game again, was him going, well, why are you playing it? And me going, hey, at the time the Portal was new, and so on and so forth. And that's how he. So it's kind of a similar story. But I've yet to actually see someone in the wild. I'm sure there's plenty of players in Denver, but I have yet to like run across somebody and be like, oh, hey, how's your zombie Sammy doing there, buddy? Or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, and let me also state that I don't think taking a break from the game by any means is a bad thing.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make it sound like I don't think you should be gung ho every single day of your life doing this, because that's just.
Right.
And when I say I haven't missed a day, I mean I logged in every day. It doesn't mean I played every day or played hard every day. It's just
right.
So I just feel I have my phone. I log in. That's it. And then if I play, I play. If I don't, then I enjoy the rest of my life.
Right. Right. No, that's good. That's good. Well, anything else you'd like to say to close out your spotlight? It's your floor. You got whichever you like.
No, other than the fact that I'm on a few of the servers. Like, I was on Merrick's server before he, I'll say it, smartly got rid of it, because sometimes negativity needs to be erased, because it gets out of control sometimes.
Right.
But like I'm on your server,
Thank you.
So I mean, if anybody ever has a question about anything, or you want to make a, Karate Kid or Cobra Kai comment, I'm always down for that.
Nice.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm just, I'm Sensei Crease everywhere.
That's awesome.
Why did I pick that name? But anyway.
Well, I don't know. I mean, topic for another time, maybe. I just want to say thank you, Sensei Crease, for being on here as our community spotlight for the week. And we really appreciate the support, appreciate you listening. And you mentioned a couple different of our friends who are also streamers. So make sure and check out Tubob on Twitch, Iron Sheik 84 on Twitch and YouTube. And, of course, Great J-Man Gaming on YouTube as well. What's it? Okay, last question, and then we're out. What's the secret on Iron Sheik and Great J-Man? Are they constantly holding up the faction, or are they the ones who are always letting everyone down? No, I'm just kidding.
They usually compete against one another, so that's entertaining. So I believe they do keep it going. Watching them two, go back and forth occasionally when they do is a good time.
Nice. Nice. Well, that's awesome. Well, we'll now tune back to the rest of this podcast episode, but thank you so much for being on here with us. This is awesome.
Yeah, this was a pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to do this.
All right. And we're back.
We're back. I love it. I love when you sit down with members of the community because I always gain a new perspective. I always see things in a way I have not seen them before. And spoiler alert, I'm excited for one you have scheduled for an upcoming show where you're going to sit down with leaders from two separate factions and talk about faction management, faction recruiting, strategy of the game, what it's like to lead. I think we need to do more content for leaders in the game, right? Because there's top 100, that's 100 leaders, right?
Yeah.
That we have a kind of a unique opportunity.
Give or take, because we have 4 of the top 100 in our faction family, but are you recruiting for us right now? No, I'm not recruiting. No, we don't do recruiting in our chats. We let every faction represent.
Join Toxic Mind. Okay, no, it's not.
Join Twisted Minds. Is that what I heard? Up and coming faction, 27 people, and still got one of the top 100 places. Just saying.
Well, Lee, it's time now to talk about the real world of professional wrestling. And Lee, can I tell you, I still don't care about Seth Rollins, but I do care about. I've had a total change of heart about this Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk mega feud that's happening over multiple premium live events. This Monday night on Raw, Lee, CM Punk came to the ring wearing an item that I recognized from the 1980s world of wrestling. Lee, tell us about the latest update in this feud.
Well, so the last time I remember one of these matches was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Savio Vega of all. But a strap match. This was very popular in like the WCW, the territory days, those kind of things where they were trying to come up with, the coal miner's glove match and the bunkhouse stampede match and the, whatever. They just tried to do whatever gimmicks that would attract people as possible. Modern WWE has really like cauterized their gimmicks around Hell in a Cell, Money in the Bank, Royal Rumble. So when we see something like this that you don't see for decades, I mean, there's been other strap matches, but let's be honest, the last one most of us remember goes all the way back to Stone Cold and the rise of Austin 316. So, So what is it about this? Because every time I've mentioned CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, your eyes kind of glaze over. What is it about this that has really like ignited you? So the nostalgia of the strap match, first of all, the way you win a strap match, I forgot till Punk explained it. You have to go and touch all 4 turnbuckles in order. Right. That is a welcomed innovation to what has gotten very mundane. I just lately the recipe has been backstage blind attack into an off-ring like table attack, and then finally vindication in the ring. Right through 1, 2. The storytelling has needed it's needed. The Attitude Era was so good because it was unpredictable. Right. Now, some of it was horrible, but they took risks. They took risks. They were willing to push the envelope of things that had never been seen. I told this example recently when Stone Cold drove to the bridge and threw the Rock's belt off the bridge into the river. Right. I will never forget that moment because I'd never seen anything like that before. Right. It was truly incredible storytelling. When The Rock beats up Cody Rhodes in the rain on the bus hubcap, I will never forget that moment because I'd never seen it before. When the Shockmaster busts through a wall and loses his glittery Stormtrooper helmet. He fell on his arse. I will never get that moment, right? Because
Lee, this morning I actually looked up the Fall Brawl match that they were setting up.
Yeah.
Did you know that they put old Tugboat? They put him in a white hard hat to replace, and he still was called the Shockmaster. So he came to the ring for that match in like a cutoff work shirt. So they changed him into a construction worker.
Right.
I guess he was an electrician, the Shockmaster. Somehow he was like a utility pole worker, and he won the match for Sting and Davey Boy Smith by putting Booker T in a bear hug and just holding him and shaking him for about a minute straight, and the ref called it a submission, and they ended the War Games match with a bear hug.
Wow, that's awesome. Could you imagine Booker T getting told what creative was for that? Okay, Fred Ottman is going to hug you, and you just need to stand there and pretend it's painful.
Yeah. He's going to hug you to sleep as the utility pole worker with a mustache, you know?
Pause.
This was 1993. Right? So like I can't imagine. Both companies had to have been in a dark place around that time. You know,
we're gonna have Fred Ottman work the pole. Whoa.
That's probably around the same time that we got Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez in WrestleMania.
Nice.
You know, in the nude suit, in the Sasquatch suit, they had airbrushed
strategic hair.
Oh, it was so terrible. So terrible.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling hit a low point.
But this strap match with CM Punk and Drew, I think this is finally going to be the end of the saga. I think we're going to see, I think we might see AJ Lee come to the ring.
Everybody keeps saying, maybe.
I think she's going to walk Larry. Is Larry still alive, or did he pass?
Oh yeah,
the dog
Larry's
alive.
Still alive. The dog's
I think
alive.
she's going to walk Larry to the ring and take the bracelet off his wrist after Charles Matthew Punk has drug Drew's body around all four turnbuckles, and at the final turnbuckle, Drew, you know, he extends his arms and she pulls it off his wrist. I think that's what's going to happen.
Ooh, or what if he brings out AJ, she gets a huge pop for coming back, and the match goes on, and then Drew knocks out Punk because of AJ's interference after having taken back the bracelet, and she puts it on Drew McIntyre's arm and walks out as his valet. That would be interesting.
This is his wife. This is his real life wife, Lee. We've already got Dom and Liv doing this, you know, turnabout face. We don't need an actual marriage on the rocks, okay, because of this uninteresting storyline. We don't need any more tawdry affairs happening. I would love AJ to just haul off and crotch kick Drew, and that's how CM Punk drags him to all four corners, because he's holding his crotchola for being such a dastardly villain. That
his
to
giblets.
me, that would be the win. Just punt him, put his grapefruits up in his throat, and then drag him around the ring, and it's over.
I'm the Scottish warrior. Ignore my throat.
Hey, I can't believe Eleanor, my sword is now inside me.
Did you just go Scrooge McDuck on me?
Yeah, well, he was Scottish too, right? So somehow that's got to be the right accent, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah. Well, you know, something like that.
Out of nowhere, like an RKO, the second most interesting storyline now in all of wrestling might be the perennial disruption of the New Day.
Yeah.
After 11 years as tag team champions, we're starting to get some miscommunication in the mix. We're starting to get Odyssey Jones filling in the role of Big E. He's bigger E, you know, he's Big J. Like Odyssey Jones is impressive and fun to watch.
Yeah.
I have to believe they're going to tag him with Kofi, and what's gonna happen to Xavier Woods?
I mean, Xavier's due for a heel turn, I think. I think that's where they're heading. And yeah, this could be the most interesting thing that he's done in a while. They really kind of botched his King of the Ring. I'll just say it. I mean, it was not an interesting story. There wasn't much follow-up. It just kind of existed.
Administration. So
yeah. Cool. Yeah, but the fact that both of the other New Day members have won the big title, I think that they could really go with like this dark turn for Xavier Woods, where all of a sudden he gets focused on, I need to win the world title. I need to prove that I'm not the Marty Jannetty of the New Day or whatever they call it. And I mean, that would be super interesting. I mean, honestly, this could be the last big run that the New Day get. So, you know, splitting them up at this point in the career, I think is a wise move. I think Xavier being the heel makes sense. It gives Kofi something interesting to do. It gives Xavier something interesting to do. And if they play it right, I legitimately would root for Xavier to be the guy to dethrone Cody or to yeah, probably Cody, because Gunther doesn't need to fall yet. So, I mean, I would, if they could build him right, I could see him becoming like this Darth Xavier kind of character.
I don't see it yet. But I'm interested. I don't know where it's going to go. That's what makes it interesting, right? Maybe Big E can return as some sort of intervention specialist, some sort of come on guys, let's get, you know, like I would love to see him part of the story. I would love to see him but can Xavier Woods be a believable heel? I mean, like, can he really be a bad guy? He's the video game guy, he's the comedy bit guy. He was hanging out with Alpha Academy, eating chips and dip. You know, I don't know that he nor Kofi would be believable heels.
Maybe. I would have said the same thing about Shawn Michaels before the Rockers broke up. I mean, as a kid, the Rockers had no reason to break up. There was no reason to separate them. And Shawn Michaels was the goofy guy in splatter paint gear that just came to the ring and did this. And yay, hi, everybody. And then when he turned, it was like, oh, this is different. So if he has it in, you know, to do that, like, what is it, Patrick Bates or whatever, the character that Batman, Christian Bale played, where he just like this unhinged psycho, like behind this, like if he played like that cerebral character. I mean, Xavier's buff, he's athletic, he's got a personality, he could carry, maybe he can't be the top heel in the company, but he could be a believable second tier heel if they let him just go off, I think.
They kind of teased him joining Karrion Kross on a recent show.
That's not second tier. That's bottom tier.
There are rumors. I read as early as this morning, there are rumors that Paige Saraya might be, now this is rumor, this is dirt sheet gossip, right? Might be heading back to WWE. There are rumors that another, you know, I won't even say the company, but there's rumors that a competitor to our brand here might be in dire straits, and so there might be more talent looking to come over, which for me, that would open up a world of possibilities.
Yeah,
I don't think Xavier, now I'm talking specifically in regards to Xavier Woods here, like maybe this is the time for Xavier to bring up Obafemi.
Oh.
Maybe this is the time for Xavier to create a team of juggernauts like Omos.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe this is the time for Xavier to have a high-flying partner like an Apollo Crews. Oh. Right? I think putting him with some fresh faces and fresh talent maybe would now, okay, and so the chat's saying like, New Day started off as a heel faction. Like, first of all, the New Day started off as a Southern gospel preacher faction.
Right.
The New Day started off bizarre. They were the second incarnation of Reverend
Brother
Devon.
Love. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they were Rev Ron, right? And so it didn't make any sense. They were like the Mississippi Mass Choir that now they took the persona and they made it something special. And I think that's where Xavier Woods excels. He excels in creativity. So I'm sure he's got something planned. But I hope they don't put him with somebody that's already doing something.
Right.
Meaning, don't put him in the Wyatt Six. Don't put him in the Final Testament. Don't put him in XYZ, right? Don't just throw him over with the Street Profits. And but actually have him be the brain of something, right? Yeah. Have him be I mean, Obafemi is right. Trick Williams is ripe for the main roster. Now, if Woods could bring them up as his disciples and eradicate the New Day, I'm in for that. I'm in for Obafemi taking down Odyssey Jones. I'm in for Trick Williams scissor kicking Kofi Kingston through the mat. Like, that would be phenomenal. So, Trick Williams is, to me, he's the second coming of Booker T. He's tall, he's built, he's charismatic, he's what they wish Mello Hayes was. Trick Williams actually is.
Wow.
I had a newsflash for you, friends. Mello is going to be the next Ricochet, the guy they don't know what to do with, the guy that gets good spots that they can't figure out and won't put a title on. Mello is headed for WWE Speed sooner than later.
Wow.
Get ready. Get ready for
it.
Get ready for it.
Wow. That's crazy, man. Well, I agree. I would love to see Obafemi come up. Other than that, I'm getting Hurt Business Reborn kind of vibes, which, might even solve some of the issues. There's been rumors that maybe some of the previous Hurt Business members have fed into that the current administration doesn't know what to do with people of color unless they're Samoan. And so what if Xavier could build a top faction? I mean, I would love to see him. Yeah, but man, that take on Mello, that's a way. I got to go here in a second. So that's almost last words right there.
What's he doing? How is he interesting? What is he giving us to make us go, I want to see more of that on WWE TV?
I don't know. I don't think I've seen him on WWE TV.
No, he had a great match with Cody. He had a tremendous match with Cody. Cody put him over, shook his hand. The guy tried to make him in a match. And he, just like Ricochet, great spots, and then faded into obscurity because we don't know what to do with him.
Wow.
We don't know what to do with him. We don't know what to do with Andrade. Let's put him on speed. We don't know what to do with Ricochet. Let's put him on speed. We don't know what to do. I'm telling you, man, Mello is on that. He should be terrified and beating down the door of creative to not put him on that trajectory.
Wow. I mean, I can't disagree because I don't have an argument for what he's done. So that's, yeah.
And he has more talent. Listen, Mello has more talent than just about anybody, both on the mic, both in the ring. I thought he was a made man when he got called up. I thought, and when Cody put him over, I thought he was a double made man. I think he's doing house shows. Wow. We brought him up to be Dolph Ziggler,
right? Maybe.
I don't know.
Oof. Well, I've got to get to work. So I hate to end us on a note like that, but
Now
But
that I've made it awkward for you, you're like, I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go.
I got 8 minutes, but yeah, I gotta do a couple things first. Well, yeah, was gonna say, any final thoughts? Any salt you'd like to add to the wounds, Rusty, before you go?
If you ever hear me kind of ranting on a subject, especially on a professional wrestler, it's because I think they have unlimited potential, and I'm just so disappointed. And I think that's where it always comes back to Rollins. That's where it always comes back to. And a lot of times my frustration is just with how people are handled. Why do they let their careers go the way of just those that have had, if you made it in NXT Black and Gold era, Gargano, Ciampa, I mean, these are the guys that should be running the show now. And there might be a flaw in the system that's promoting small high flyers, like luchador style wrestlers, may not translate into the main television product of WWE wrestling. So we may need a show that's just for them, that's like NXT Black and Gold was, where you showcase talent against itself and let people fall in love with their abilities and with their charisma, instead of bearing them to whoever, right? Carrying cross, and that's right. 205 Live tried, but it just wasn't interesting, right? So it's got to be
stakes.
Yeah. And that was, who knows? That was the previous administration. Anyway, so all I'm saying is maybe they need a division. Maybe they need a cruiserweight title. Maybe they need a light heavyweight champion. Maybe they need, a belt that's not just for the number 2 guy, but that's for a class or a category of wrestler that is able to do something that other categories of wrestlers are not.
Yeah.
Right? And that it's a serious belt, not a 24/7 title, right? Not something corny, but like one that's really like, the light heavyweight championship could be, right? Or that cruiserweight title. When Rey Mysterio was, remember when Rey Mysterio was a cruiserweight champ? Like that title it was involved. It meant a lot. So yeah.
Well, if they're going to introduce a new title, I think it should be the I Believe in Joe Hendry title, because he should have all the belts. But I need to get to work, and so I want to thank everybody for being here on Champions Chat for our podcast recording live. Be sure to check us out on Fridays, because we are on the main WWE Champions channel. And we've got an announcement. Next week's podcast recording, which should be on a Thursday again, may actually have giveaways. Tell your friends. And Rusty, you've got a final parting word for us on how you can help this content grow.
Yeah, if you like what we do, friends, the number one ask that we have of our friends and fans right now is that you would follow our Twitch channel. Now, if you're watching this right now on our Twitch, you probably already follow us. But our Twitch channel is twitch.tv/Champions Chat Podcast. So if you're listening on audio, we need you to go to Twitch and follow us. If you are watching on YouTube on delay or on demand, we need you to follow up, click over to Twitch and give us a follow. We are currently, as of August 21st at 11:26 Eastern, we are at 166 follows on Twitch. We are so thankful for those 166 of you that follow us. We have set a goal to increase that. Let's say our first goal right now is to get to 300. We want to double our followership and get to 300. Now, maybe that's as simple as you copying our Discord link. Our Twitch link and posting it in your Discord and say, hey, Lee and Rusty need your help. Give them a follow. That would be awesome, right? And if you're in the Battletoads, use the translation app, post it in Russian, All comrades need you. So that's all for me, Lee. Take us out.
All right. Well, hey, it's an honor to be a part of this community. It truly is my favorite game of all time. I love talking about it, and I love being on here with you guys. So that's it for this one. We'll talk to you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.